what it took to try to be here today. I requested a permit to be here, to have this gazebo, this spot reserved, so we could be here, so that there was no conflict. I didn't do it because we need a permit to be here. I wanted the permit because I wanted this spot. Again, a lot of you people know what I've gone through. I applied for this permit in August. In September, I went to the first meeting, and just like last year, I started getting the whole round of excuses. What ultimately was said, now we did not get a permit. I will tell you that. They do have us on the books that we are going to be here today. They would not approve my permit because I would not pay their extortion fee of $100 to be able to reserve this gazebo for us to be here. I will not pay any money for a constitutional right. We have the right to peacefully assemble. We have the right to free speech, and I will not pay for that right. About this, because the parks continually said to me, our parks, the city's parks, to which I very promptly corrected them and said, you need to change your thinking. This park does not belong to the city of Salem. This park belongs to the citizens of the city of Salem, who pay their taxes to maintain their parks.
Right on.
You do not own these parks.
But the Declaration of Independence is something that it would be in all of our best interest to go back and review, because it so brazenly and assertively tells us that if government ever stops serving the needs of the people, and that being the maximum freedom and liberty, that we are duty bound to throw that monkey off our back. But I do love the Declaration of Independence. It can't be amended, and we got to remember that when governments become tyrannical, it's duty bound upon us to do something about it, and we should never forget that. The Second Amendment in particular, it's the only place in the Constitution that declares something to be essential, and that's the militias to the security of a free state. It's the only place in the Constitution where that's mentioned, and it's for very good reasons. What follows registration? Confiscation. We all know that. We have got to teach our peers. We've got to find a way to get into the schools. The young people today, tell me they're not breeding what I think is a second or third generation of little entitled little socialists, little commies. The kids that are being pumped out of the government schools right now is a disgrace. They hate the country they live in. This is not the fabric I was cut from. I'll tell you, if we don't reach out to the youth, it's easy for us to go home, turn on the TV, and laugh when we see some millennial making an ass of themselves. The smile comes off our face when we see Antifa doing a beatdown on some old man because he's wearing the wrong hat. We're losing it. I wish ill will on nobody, but I will not register or give you my gun. I will not take out any more paperwork than I need to get what I want, to defend myself. I will not beg for that. But when I ask them, what are you going to do? All right, are you going to suit up and are you going to put your jack boots on my door? Someone's going to have to. Enough of us need to say no. I know law enforcement, the most often, they are not against the citizens being armed. They know they can't always get there in time. So a lot of your local police, they're not as skittish about the Second Amendment as the politicians are. All right, the politicians. Look at France right now. You want to see a nation in turmoil, boy, and then here I am. I used to think of those guys that they were famous for their white flags always surrendering. Now they're out in the streets. They're yellow vests like that. All right, and why are they out there? These are the growing pains of globalization. All right, a lot of the things that we have going wrong right now, we're lulled into the debates on greenness, sustainability, independent energy, water, firearms, whatever it is. This is the growing pains of globalization. This is normal. They didn't tell you to expect this back in the 80s when they were pushing it originally, but this is it. France, they're on fire over there now because they can't afford the sustainability and greenness. They just can't afford it. All right, their flavor of socialism is literally burning up over there. I'm glad to see what's going on. That is what all the nations of the world need to do. Because it is globalization that's coming after your guns. Look at the UN tower in New York. What's their model? Remember the revolver with a barrel tied in a knot? The UN needs to go. We need to evict every last one of those scumbags. I'll tell you what should be in there right now. It should be a hospital for veterans down on the floor, on the bottom level. All right? We need housing. Let's get our veterans off the street. I'd rather see veterans in that tower than some globalist in a $1,500 suit. Let's evict them. Let's get the UN out of the United States. That's where a lot of our gun control regulation comes from.
In Boston, Massachusetts, by the way, where our benevolent leaders have just banned the plastic bag. Wow. Dangerous. You can be an illegal criminal alien and you'd be welcome in Boston. Yes, and this is all part of Agenda 21. And my city councilor from the 6th district, on his Facebook page, he said, for I have a limited supply of recycled bags. If you give me, let me know, I'll come and deliver one. Well, being a Christian gentleman, I didn't tell him what I really thought he could do with those recycled bags of his. And by the way, those recycled bags are more harmful to the environment than, I think, like 123 plastic bags. So, anyway, I'm with Camp Constitution, and I want to point out a book that we published. I brought some with me, Dealing with the Militia. And it was edited by my friend Dan McGonigal, who should have been here. Execute the Laws to Restore the Republic, and it's a lot of Edwin Vieira. Is that name known by some of you folks? It should. He should be well known because he addressed this concept of unorganized militia. That's what it says in the law, isn't it? What's an unorganized militia? By its definition, has to be organized. Could you imagine an unorganized baseball team? How about an unorganized doctor? An unorganized hospital. The very definition of militia is that it is organized, that it's disciplined, that it's and regulated. Doesn't mean all kinds of rules and regulations, although that's part of it. It means that they know how to use that weapon and the tactics, etc. Also, too, it's interesting that on this beautiful monument here commemorating the first muster in 1637, it said the birthplace of the National Guard. Well, if you're a militiaman, you keep your weapon with you. The National Guard, you got to store it. So as National Guard, the purpose of that was after the Spanish-American War, militias were not sent overseas. So when we became an empire, in violation of the Constitution, then it changed that. So in 1903, they passed the Dick Act, and in effect, people were asleep with the switch and let it happen. And so this is covered in this book, a very important book. I highly recommend it. And also, if you go to our YouTube channel, we have a lot of videos on the subject. Just a few years ago, there was all kinds of people National Guards were putting up recruiting posters. And they say, this is from the militia. Well, if you're a true militiaman, you're not recruited. You know where to go. When you turn a certain age, you go to that captain or that sergeant who's probably your neighbor. And if we had a true militia, do you think we would have organized crime or gangs? Because what is a gang? But really an illegal militia, because they're organized, they're disciplined, and so forth, and they have a mission. And it's really a tragedy. So that's important to understand that information. Now, we started Camp Constitution for one of the main reasons is because most Americans, especially young people, have very little knowledge of the Constitution, and the tyrants in our country that run our country love it that way. They like the fact that there are ignorant people who don't understand the Constitution. I was in Virginia not too long ago, and there was a lady passing out pamphlets running for Congress. It was in front of a baseball park, minor league park, and I thought we'll have a little fun with her. And I said, where do you find the job description of a member of the House of Representatives? And she looked at me like I had two heads. So I had to rephrase the question. Well, where do you find the duties and obligations of the member of the House? And she looked at me and she said, online? Wow. There's a candidate running for, she had no idea. There was a lady running here, Beth Lindstrom, who was running for the Senate. And I heard her speak at an event in Lexington. I asked her some questions on the trade issue. She didn't know. She didn't know what the duties of a senator were. Yeah, she's the most qualified person to be Elizabeth Warren because she served under Romney and she was the head of the lottery and so forth. She didn't know anything about the Constitution. But to her credit, she did call me and ask me. And so that's one of the big problems we have. And we set up tables at gun shows. You know what's fascinating? People get their first...
Take a moment and think about our republic. Our beautiful land, our freedoms, Friday night lights in a small town, the freedom to go to church on a bright Sunday morning, the outpouring of support in a natural disaster, people helping people. Think about traveling from state to state, enjoying the wonder she holds. From mountains to beaches, we have breathtaking beauty. What a wondrous country we have, unlike none other. Many have tried, all have failed to capture what we have. It's not the government or how we make our laws. It's not even how we enforce them. It's the people, the American people, that make her what she is. A spirit crafted with pride, endurance, and perseverance. When did our republic begin? Did it begin with the shot that was heard around the world? Fired not too far from this spot? Were we established in 1776 when the Declaration of Independence was signed? Or was it in 1788 when the Constitution was ratified? I think many might say when we defeated the British and gained our independence. In my opinion, we began much earlier than that. Our spirit was born in 1636 when the colonists in the Massachusetts Bay Colony were ordered by the General Court to organize the militia. Our fighting, defending spirit was born. We were not always so beautiful. We were hard lands, small, handcrafted farms, poverty and strife. And if it wasn't hard enough to pick up and move to the New World, running from religious persecution, we had battle, war, and plagues. Everyone seemed to want what we were trying to build, but how to defend with numerous attacks with no warning. Strong men, able men, were called upon to be the organized militia, the Minutemen, our National Guard. Our fighting, always ready, always there spirit was conceived.
I sat and I listened to her talk and painting this picture of what we have. Are you ready to give that up? No. I don't know about you. I'm not ready. I want what we have. I want to get up on a Sunday morning and go out for a walk in the park and take my kids to go see the Christmas lights. I want to be able to get out on a Friday night and see Friday Night Lights. I want to go see the Red Sox play. I love this country. I love what we have. What we have is amazing, and I'm not ready to give that up. And I'm going to tell you, I don't know what I was thinking. I ran for state senate in Rhode Island this year, and it was a challenge. It was kind of a last-minute thing. I was spending a lot of time down at the State House over the last year and a half, and I watched what they were doing, and I watched my reps and my senators, and I thought, for God's sakes, I can do better than that. Jeez. You know, I got no experience. I don't know what I'm doing, but I can certainly do better than what they're doing. And one thing that I learned, I didn't win, but I put up a good fight. I worked really, really hard. It was a lot of learning experiences. I have to tell you, the one thing I learned the most out of this is we actually have a voice. It makes me sad to think that people feel that we don't have a voice anymore, because we do. In Rhode Island, this past summer, a group of people from the 2A community, we kind of call ourselves the yellow shirts. Some guy made up a shirt that says gun control does not work, and kind of picked up, and people started buying them and getting them, and we started showing up at the State House. And when they started pushing these gun laws through, trying to bring them forward, we showed up. We mobilized, we showed up, and one day we showed up with 4,000 people. And we filled that state house. I mean, we filled it. We were in every corner of that place. They had to open up empty rooms to find places for us to sit because there was no more room in any of the hearing rooms. We were there testifying until 2 a.m. because they had to listen to every friggin' one of us talk, and they had to let us speak. And whether they wanted to or not, and whether they rolled their eyes, and no matter what they had to say, they had to listen to us. And they did. And while they did still push through the ridiculous bump stock and the nonsense red flag bill, they did codify it, they did make provisions to it, they did fix it. It's still not what we wanted, but that's all they put through, even though they had about 28 of them on the table ready to put through, and they wanted to, let me tell you. They wanted to put those through, and they still do. They still have the ban. They want to put through the bans, they want to put through the magazine limits and everything else. They've got them sitting there, but I'm telling you, if you want to make a difference, you can. This all came together just this year. She started, a friend of mine that I got to know, she's very involved in the community. She rallied everybody, and we got everybody down there, and we ended up having to go down there 4 or 5 different times this year, but we did it. We got down there, we made a presence, we let them know. And the thing is we can't just stop with guns, and this is exceptionally important, and I know everybody here loves them, but it's about more than that. We have to get down there for everything. You've got to be down there for your budget meetings. You've got to be down there for all of the stupid bills they want to push through, taking away our small business rights. There are so many things that they're grabbing our rights a little bit at a time in all the different areas, and we're letting them. This is the problem. We're sitting back and we're letting them do it, and we're not stepping up and reminding them who runs the show here. They like to believe they run the show, and they really do. They sit down there and act like they have it all under control. But we have to remind them who actually runs the show in this place. It's us. It's the taxpayers, it's the Americans, it's the people who love these flags more than anything else, who love our country and who want to be able to get up every morning, go get our coffee, and do the things we want to do with our families, and go and enjoy this beautiful country that we have. And so there are so many things that you can do, and I want everybody to just remember, we're not powerless here. Not in any way, shape, or form. We have so much power, and we're just not utilizing it, and we have to find ways, and we have to come together. We have to stop fighting, because I'm telling you something, if I didn't learn one thing in this politic race, is the left has got it all under control. They are so organized, and they have got that piece sewn up, and we need to find a way to do that, because we've got the numbers, we've got the heart, and we have the Constitution. We have the most important thing behind us to use, and we are wasting that. And so we've got to stop fighting amongst all each other, stop fighting among the groups, and we got to all come together and find a way to use what we have and fight this, because we can. It's out there.
But my state has become a sanctuary state. They're now gerrymandering, so we can't win, we can't get our voice heard. So we have to step it up to the next step, okay? Because the process we're going along. So what we need is support throughout the country. Hopefully it starts in New Jersey, I don't know if it will. But we have to start like they did back in the 60s. We have to start with civil disobedience. And just like that gentleman said over there, we have to start trying to hold public officials accountable, try to lock them up. And the way to get more attraction to it is to do what they do. Start fighting like them. Fight dirty, whatever it's going to take. Civil disobedience moves. Start like blocking traffic. Maybe go down. We were thinking about going down to Trenton on a Monday morning and just kind of shut down, you know, the traffic flow in front of it until we get some press and get some attention. Maybe get some of the young kids that like disobedience and stuff like that. Maybe on our side, to at least hear them. They're not hearing us. They're not here. We're talking to ourselves, which is good, you know, because it's nice to see somebody else from another state, you know, have support. It's not enough of us. We got to go out there and do something different. We got to change our tactics. So, like this. I love this in Fred. My part is to support them. Hopefully there was a media here that can see to send this to France. We support you over there, France. And you know what? I gotta tell you something else. You got me on a roll now. I work for Long Shot Pistol and Rifle, Secaucus, New Jersey. I'm the sales manager and I'm an RSO down there. And we're 5 miles from New York City. And so we advertise on Facebook and Google and all like that. And people coming from all over the world come to our range to shoot. And I start talking to them. And they love America's able to have guns. And they say, never give them up. We're sorry we did. From Australia to England to all these other countries. In fact, they're trying to get their rights back to get the guns back. Because like he was saying before, globalization, it's the globalists that came here. They infiltrated our government on the Republican side and the communists on the left. The globalists are on the right and the communists and socialists are on the left. We don't have a middle anymore. It's crazy, it's insanity. So anyway, just...
In my office I have the Constitution, Declaration, and the Bill of Rights. And I asked him to read the first section of the Constitution. And he couldn't do it. Not because he's stupid, he has a master's degree. He can't read cursive. He sat there and looked at the document and couldn't read a word of it. That's what globalism, that's what Marxism, that's what socialism, that's what Agenda 21 has done. It has dumbed down the youth so much that they just don't know what they don't know. That's the future of this country. That's why we need people to print up pocket guide constitutions and to make sure that those companies stay in business. Because when we stop buying them and they're no longer there for us, the bad guys win because nobody can read the documents, so they're just going to make it up as they go along. Miss Rollins was just elected as their district attorney. She takes power, January 2nd, 2019. She has a list that she published the day before yesterday, that if I can get my fingers to actually friggin' work, I'll show it to you, I'll read it to you. But it's 14 laws. Her name's Rachel Rollins. It's rollins4da.com if you want to go see her Marxism. But she has 14 laws that she will refuse to prosecute people for. Okay? Say again?
I said, I bet none of them are gun laws.
No, they don't love us. They don't love us. All right. Here are the 14 laws that if you live in Suffolk County and you pay a lot of money to live there, this just doesn't matter for you anymore. Your quality of life is dropping. January 2nd. Trespassing. Somebody trespasses on your property, who cares? Shoplifting. Somebody breaks into your business and steals your product. Doesn't matter. That's our voter. We're not going to do anything about that. We need those people. Larceny under $250. This is how stupid she is. The law changed a year ago. Larceny under $250 used to be misdemeanor. Larceny over $250 was felony. It's now $1,200. She's a DA and she doesn't even know that.
All right, so here with Jared from Guns and Gadgets. I just wanted to get your take on what you were discussing earlier in your speech about the growing lawlessness that's going on in Massachusetts, particularly with this elected representative who's planning on essentially just not enforcing any laws that are going to be affecting a lot of people and making their safety, compromising their safety and security and their property. And just where do you see this headed in the future? And, you know, are we going to be becoming some kind of lawless zone? And it's just kind of scary as somebody who's a resident in Massachusetts, and you're a law enforcement officer. So I was hoping to get your take on it.
Sure, absolutely. First off, thanks for having me. Well, what we have here that happened, it's the first that I've been aware of anywhere in the nation. We actually have an elected district attorney who's taking her office next January, and she has pledged not to enforce certain laws that she is saying are victimless crimes, breaking and entering, stuff like that, resisting arrest, drug dealing, drug possession, trespassing. You can see all 14 of the laws on her website. And it's a dangerous precedent because the district attorney, her job is to be the people's attorney in that county. So now you have an entire county of people who have elected a law enforcement official with the hope and that they would enforce the law. And she's coming in now that she's about to take office telling you that I'm not going to enforce certain laws because they're not important enough. I don't know about you, but I don't want anybody to break and entering into my property, or trespassing on my property, or dealing drugs in my neighborhood. Those are all pretty important to me. But you have a district attorney who's on record saying she doesn't care and she's not going to enforce that. She has backtracked a little bit, saying she'll think about it selectively, but selectively is not good enough. When you empower the criminal element, you create a very dangerous ebb and flow in the community. It's a lot more difficult for law enforcement to do their job when you don't have the support of the district attorney. So it puts us in a weird spot as citizens where who's going to be there for our safety? You know, if you have the DA's office telling you we don't care enough to enforce these laws, what's left? You know, we're empowering, in my opinion, we're empowering the criminal right now under her watch, and I don't think that's the right thing to do at all.
And as regards to it's pretty much like a sanctuary city status, and the fact that they're harboring these, in particular the drug dealers who are dealing with the fentanyl, and we've had repeatedly found there's been arrests of in Massachusetts of illegal aliens who are bringing in kilos and kilos of fentanyl, which is deadly enough to kill millions of people, and we're suffering under the opioid epidemic, and they're not enforcing these laws, and it just seems like kind of backwards. And if these people or officials are setting the example of that laws don't matter, what precedent is that setting for people looking at that who are just average people? It's just going to be, do you see it creating a kind of chaos in Massachusetts? And with this judge now not only not carrying out the law, they're obstructing the law, with the judge that Charlie Baker recommended for being suspended for she was obstructing ICE from deporting somebody who was a criminal. Just where do you see this headed, and are you scared yourself as a law enforcement officer? But
yeah, it's dangerous, man, because we're heading down a road that we might not be able to come back from and still have what we have in our neighborhoods now. I mean, our children are growing up in a very dangerous time. Right now we have more political activism in elected positions than we do politicians who are there to create or enforce law, depending on the branch that they're in. When you have judges who think that it's their job to become sanctuary judgeships or create a bubble that nobody's held accountable under, it's very dangerous because it leads to lawlessness. And then you have a DA who doesn't want to enforce certain laws. And it starts at the top. We have an attorney general who is more worried about the agenda and expediting her career politically than she is about everybody in the Commonwealth. You know, those positions, those political offices are supposed to look out for everybody's best interest, not just the select few that help their agenda.
it's just, it's scary. They kind of seems like they're definitely catering to their interests, obviously, but like an agenda that's pretty much counter to America, law and order, the Constitution, and all these other things. So it seems almost like an invasion of sorts. But well, did you have any other comments about the future and about your show?
It's not too late. Knowledge is power, and the more that we know, the stronger we'll be. So you're going to have to spread out the word. The laws that are coming that are affecting how the Constitution is treated or mistreated, they often come by under the cover of darkness that it's not really publicized. And that's where we need to stay vigilant. We need to make sure that those of us who do find out about a law spread the word, get everybody involved, make the meetings when you have, whether it's city council meetings or selectmen meetings in your towns. That is our chance to be the government, especially if you're in a town and you have a selectman base. You are the government, not the people sitting at the desk. Government are our employees, and we need to remember that and get back to that phase, because when they realize that we're the boss, they'll actually do their job a little more than they have been.
The DAs work for the system. They're not going to call them out. We have politicians that break their oath of office. And at the very least, they should be cited for perjury and at worst, treason. It's up to us to hold them accountable. History repeats itself. It's time we learned it. It's time we taught others. We are the teachers. We are the enforcers. Thomas Jefferson once said, "Educate and inform the whole mass of the people. They are the only sure reliance for the preservation of our liberty." With this, I encourage each of you to become teachers. Knowledge has never been so accessible, and we should never stop learning in turn necessary to preserve our liberty. Our founders were students of her history, and it served them well. It served us well if we would pay attention to it. Let's all follow their example for future generations and for this great country.
If you say no, I'm not going to do it, I will not. All right, don't talk and discuss these things on their terms, because when we do, half the battle's lost already.